Okay, so here we are live once again with another DC Multiverse unboxing, and this is Superman from the Justice League Task Force line. Now, of course, these are action figures that are based on a 1990s video game of the same name. It was a fighting game. It was on both the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, although apparently it was two different versions of it. Different character designs even. So, but I'm pretty sure the gameplay was the same, but it had different character designs and different backgrounds. Anyway, you can see that this is a Superman with a mullet because it was from the 90s. It was right after the Death of Superman comic book storyline. And in fact, they had a Death of Superman video game that I had for the Sega Genesis also. And I enjoyed that game quite a bit. Anyway, here's the back of the package again. If you saw the Flash episode already, we talked about this. I do like that it has a unique design to it, special for this this particular line, the 80s Justice League logo, late 80s Justice League logo. They used that on into the 90s, and the Task Force, because it's Justice League Task Force, which was a comic book at the time, but didn't really have a whole lot to do with this video game. The Justice League Task Force comic book, actually, a guy who should have been in the video game, if you ask me, would have been this fellow, the Martian Manhunter. So he was actually the main character of the Justice League Task Force comic, and it was kind of like a riff on Mission Impossible, where like every storyline would have the Martian Manhunter putting together a team of various Justice League members specifically to handle whatever threat, except for one storyline where it was Bruce Wayne. That was during Nightfall, and Bruce Wayne was in a wheelchair, and he wore makeup to make it look like he was somebody disguised as Bruce Wayne, so that the rest of the Justice Leaguers wouldn't really know who he was. Kind of interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and get them opened up, since we've already covered most of this packaging on the Flash episode. The only real difference is the back here, which has got the instructions that I'm not following. So we got the wired cape, pretty cool. And this is a reuse of the body that we previously saw for the Earth 2 Superman from the Crisis on Infinite Earths line that was exclusive to the Mcfarlane website. And I was fortunate enough to get that set. So I have characters like, Superman, the Spectre, Kid Flash, Psycho Pirate, have all those guys. So I'm being very careful as I pull this out that I don't let the cape get caught on anything as far as like, I don't want to get like the cape hung up on anything. There we go. Got him out of the package. And he has a wired cape, like I mentioned before. Let's go ahead and unfurl it. And unlike the Snyderverse Superman, the Henry Cavill Superman, this one has the wire all the way around, so I think that works out a lot better. Whereas the Henry Cavill one just kind of had the wire at the edges of the left and right edges, but not at the bottom of the cape. So that's going to be a lot easier to pose. And it's kind of crinkled up a little bit, so I'm going to kind of try to straighten it out as well as I can. There we go. He does not have an S on the back of his cape, for anybody who's wondering. And you can see that the basic color is kind of a rich, deep blue, kind of reminiscent of the blue that was on Dean Cain's Superman outfit, which is appropriate because this is the Superman that was at the time that was on television. This was the Superman that was in the comics. Of course, it's a video game version of that. And we see, like, with the Flash, it does have that sort of digitized shading to it, make it look kind of like, you got these highlights kind of painted onto the figure. And they're much, much more prominent, I think, on Superman. Like, you can see how light that blue is. It's almost white in some areas. Like, I think they probably should have made the lightest blue, what's the medium blue on here, and then come up with a blue in between. I think that would have worked a little better. But that's the least of this figure's problems. Just looking at it offhand, I do have a few criticisms that I'm going to issue right now. So, for one thing, you can see that he has some very red lips. I mean, those are crazy red lips. It looks like Superman borrowed Lois Lane's lipstick. That's what it looks like. Like, seriously, I probably have female action figures that don't have lips as dark as. I mean, look at Tila. Tila has like a fairly natural lip color. It's a good. Looks like a natural lipstick shade a girl would wear, but this one looks. It's just so red. It's like ridiculously red, and that's a big problem. So that's something where I'm gonna have to repaint that because I don't I don't mind having like a little bit of like color there. Like if we look at our other mullet Superman that we have, since I happen to have him handy to compare, you can see he's got his lips painted a different color from the rest of his skin, but it's nothing like this. That's crazy. Cape is really long, by the way. It comes down about to his ankles, which I think is longer than really Superman's cape ought to be. I didn't really mind the Cavill Superman cape being that long, because of course that's how long his cape actually is in the movie. But his cape is too long in the movie, if I'm being real about it. And I'm not a Snyderverse, love the Snyderverse, but I'm just I'm gonna be that guy that's gonna point out that Superman's cape isn't really that long in the comics. But I do love the body of this figure. I do feel like this is the best body that Mcfarlane has made for Superman thus far. And here's a much easier way for any of you out there to get it than getting that Earth 2 Superman, which is really difficult to get a hold of, since it was a Mcfarlane exclusive, like to the website, and it sold out pretty quick. So if you want to do like a good basic Superman figure, it'd be pretty easy, I think, to strip the highlighted portions off of this figure and redo the emblem. Which brings me to the other criticism that I have about this figure, is the emblem is like really sloppy on this. And I understand it's supposed to look like the video game. It's supposed to have that sort of digital shading sort of thing going on. But honestly, in the video game, it didn't really look like that. It looked a lot worse, actually. They made it look better than what it looked like in the video game. But like I said with the Flash, and the Flash actually had a more clean emblem than this one, I kind of feel like they should have made the emblems clean, even with the digitized shading. I mean, like, he doesn't have like a digitized face, he's got a fairly realistic painted face. What's the difference between that and the emblem as far as that goes? I really like the hair on this figure. Like, he's got like I said, the mullet like Superman would have had in the 1990s, and it's very sort of like this majestic mane that he has in this one. Like if we look at the Death of Superman version, you see that's a little more like how I don't know, like Dan Jurgens would have drawn his hair like that, and that looks fine. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I think this is a more comic book accurate version for the most part. Most Superman artists drew his hair kind of like this. This looks more like how Barry Kitson drew Superman's hair at the time, where she gave him a lot more body to his hair than most of the other artists at the time were doing. And Barry Kitson is a very talented artist. I was a big fan of his work on Superman. So it's kind of neat to have like a Superman that looks kind of like his version as far as that goes. And as much as I kind of ripped on the lips, and those lips are just way too dark of a red, like I do like the facial sculpt of this Superman. He's got like a good, solid, strong jaw, and kind of like this look of grim determination on his face. That's a good 90s Superman head, I must say. And if it didn't have that lipstick, I think this would be like a perfect 90s Superman head. But the lipstick just kind of throws it off a little bit, so I'm gonna have to fix that. But it reminds me a lot of the Total Justice action figure from the 1990s, which you've seen on this channel before. I showed that off in one of the other videos. So it seems like the cape also it's a dual layered cape. Like, this is 2 layers of fabric here. So they put a lot of effort into making this cape look good. So good on them for that. I really like the color choices for the base colors, at least. Like I said, I do kind of feel like the pixelation of the blue is a little too light. I think it could have been a bit closer to the basic base color that you see there. But I do like the pixelation effect. I think it looks cool. It does bring a little bit of nostalgia to me as a guy who actually played this video game in the 1990s. I gotta say, I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. Superman can't look up that far because he's got the mullet, so that the hair kind of gets in the way. He can look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, but more so to one side than the other. This one doesn't quite tilt as far as this one. I'm just saying that. Head does rotate all the way around, but be careful; it's going to get kind of caught on that cape. It does come down pretty long in the back, and if you're not a fan of mullet Superman, I'm sorry, but this might not be the figure for you. Me, I've got like a good nostalgic appreciation for mullet Superman, so I'm always happy to see him in action figure form. Superman's got the cool McFarlane torso articulation underneath the rib cage, and at the waist he's got like a kind of a similar sort of ball joint there. So good articulation at the torso. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulder. They got the butterfly joints. So they move back about that far and move forward about that far, up and down a little bit too. So that's good. And then, of course, his arms can raise up about that far from side to side. He's got a bicep swivel. Bicep rotates all the way around. Got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows. And, of course, he's got the cool McFarlane ball joints at the wrist. So you can pretty much move these wrists around whichever way you want. That's a good thing. Superman can kick up about that far, so a little further than 90 degrees. That's some great motion, great range of motion at the hips. I really like that. That's good. He's got double jointed knees, which are a little stiff, but I think I can get him to move. Yeah, that's about the range of motion you get at the knees. No boot cut, but it's a McFarlane figure, so he's got the cool ankle articulation that they have that rotates all the way around. Points down that far, points up that far, and of course rotates all the way around, both where the ankle meets the shin and where the ankle meets the foot. And then he's got toe articulation just to show off. All right, so pretty cool Superman figure. I do really like it, especially when you think of him in the context of it being a video game character. It does look very much like how he looks in the video game. But like I said, if you want a basic Superman figure and you like this body type, but you weren't able to get the Earth 2 figure, or maybe you just want to do a more modern Superman with that one, I would say, get this one, strip the digitized stuff off of it, use like some acetone or whatever, and put a new emblem on there, like a cleaner, maybe logo perfect emblem. 3D print one, use a Cricut, get a water-based decal off of eBay or something like that. But you could make a pretty good classic style Superman out of this. Replace the head if you don't want a mullet on there. You can get different heads to fit on there. But I like that head. Like I said, I have nothing against the mullet, so I'm fine. So he's got the same sort of punching effects that the Flash had, only this time they're in red. So let's go ahead and pop one of these onto his fist so we can see what that looks like. And oops, knocked his hand off. His hand is a bit bigger than the Flash's. So that's why it's not going to go on there quite as easily. But I did not expect that fist to be on there as loosely as it was. I don't know if I jostled it when I was moving it around, or if it just doesn't fit on there that tightly. But you can see it does go on and off fairly easily. So we'll just be more careful when we're putting this on there this time. How about that? All right, so there he is with the little effect on his fist. Let's see if we can get him into a good punching pose. Yeah, how about that? Wham! He hit Darkseid so hard he knocked his head off. How about that? speaking of which, that brings us to the next part of our package. And I haven't forgotten, well, I guess I kind of did forget, but I haven't completely forgotten. I did remember about the trading card, so we'll get to that in a second. I imagine it's going to be like the same sort of stat type trading card that we had with the Flash. So get the rubber tabs cut on that, and then we've got Darkseid's legs. And again, this is going to be a repaint of the previous big fig that we had of Darkseid. You can see it's got the digitized shading at the tops of the boots. They're both on the same side. So I guess that's where the light is coming from as far as Darkseid goes. And you can see his buttocks. They're Darkseid's buttocks. There's a term you probably didn't expect to hear on on YouTube today. Jack Kirby said that Darkseid was the most evil villain of all. And we just saw his buttocks. But they fit right into the rubber trunk piece that's on the figure already. So when the figure is put together, you don't see his buttocks anymore. So if you're uncomfortable with Darkseid's booty, don't worry. It's not going to be exposed when once you get the whole figure put together. But there's what he's looking like so far. Pretty cool so far, huh? So the next figure we're going to open up on the next episode is going to be Batman. And you see Batman comes with Darkseid's arms. So that'll be next time. So, you want to make sure you don't miss that. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that stuff. I'll go ahead and say that a little early this time. So, and make sure when you put these together, you get it clicked in all the way, because, it does kind of need to go in all the way. Make sure it clicks. This one is being a little more stubborn, but I think I got it now. All right, so we'll talk more about Darkseid as we put more pieces onto him. But for now, let's set the Great One aside. And then we've got a trading card we still got to talk about, and a figure stand. And unfortunately, they're not on the same bubble, but hopefully I can get it out without too much trouble. And here we have this lovely piece of Superman from the style guide, little piece of artwork with the Man of Steel. And I've seen this piece of artwork before, but this one they've redrawn it somewhat so that he has the mullet. We'll get back to that in a second. First, I want to go ahead and get out the figure stand. And it's the same DC Multiverse figure stand we've seen several times. Matte black plastic figure stand with a glossy black DC logo embossed onto it. I wonder if this is going to change anytime soon, because I know that now the official DC logo is back to the 70s version, the one I grew up with, that lasted all through the 1990s, and then Dan DiDio changed it. So, but it's back now. If there's one thing that James Gunn has done that I liked, it's that he brought back that logo. If there's two things that I like that he's done, it's that he keeps delaying the Batman Part 2. Just go ahead and cancel it. I'll be fine with that. But yeah, I really like this piece of artwork with Superman on there. Here's what the back looks like, and it reads: Superman, Justice League Task Force, data file, powers, super strength, flight, and vulnerability, super speed, heat vision, freeze breath, x-ray vision, superhuman hearing, and healing factor. First appearance, Action Comics #1, 1938, alias/alter ego, Clark Kent, Kal-El, aka the Man of Steel, the last son of Krypton, base of operations, Metropolis, occupation, reporter. I'd like it better if it said mild-mannered reporter, but, whatever. I'll take what I can get. I do like the way that these bios are set up, where they're kind of more like stats. I mean, like I said, it's not like... sometimes they have the bios on here and I'll comment, well, it didn't really tell us much about the character. There's a lot more it should have told us about the character. But this isn't really set up that way. It's set up, like I said, to be more like stats. So I can't really complain too much about, it not telling us about the character's personality or background or whatever, because it's not really what that's set up to do. It's set up to be stats, and it does that well. So I like the trading cards that I've seen on these so far. So Superman is a good figure, and as far as whether or not I recommend it is going to depend on how you feel about having like a an action figure that's based very heavily on a 1990s video game, and very evidently so. So it's now me. I have a lot of fond memories of playing this video game, so I like the idea of having figures that look like the video game. That's something that appeals to me. It takes me back to the 1990s, which was a very good time to be reading DC Comics. Death of Superman was one of my favorite storylines ever in the Superman comic books, and I was pretty excited by a lot of the things that were going on in the comics at the time. I did enjoy playing video games on my Sega Genesis, so I was glad to have a video game where I could play as a lot of my favorite DC characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, all those guys. My one problem that I had with that video game is that I would have liked to have seen more villains. The only villains in there were obviously Darkseid himself, and Cheetah, and Despero. And I'm like, could they have the Joker or Lex Luthor, or somebody like Bane, Doomsday? Get some other villains up in here. Like, the storyline of it, like I said, was pretty much just the superheroes fighting each other, which they made up the excuse of they were like these kind of robot cyborg duplicate clone things. I forget exactly what, but they did have a storyline reason as to why you were fighting other superheroes. And it was a little bit more of a Silver Age kind of trope than, what they come up with in Justice later, where, some of these characters are now bad, become tyrants. And, I don't kind of like the idea of Superman becoming a bad guy. So I think I might prefer the approach that the goofy Silver Age approach that was in that 90s video game. At least, I think in the first one, it was more of a parallel universe kind of thing. The first Injustice, I mean. I never really played a whole lot of it, but I did read the comic book, and I liked the comic book as far as being an Elseworlds kind of thing. But it's hardly my definitive version of the characters, you know what I mean? So if I want to play Superman in a video game, I want to play the good guy Superman. I don't want to play some tyrant version of Superman. That's just me, though. That's just my point of view. I know those video games are really popular, and I know a lot of you out there probably really enjoyed playing them. And I played a little bit of them here and there, like at a party or something like that, and they were fun to play. So I don't really blame anybody for that. I'm just talking about the storyline aspects of it. That's kind of how I feel about that. But yeah, as far as being representative of this old video game, I think this figure does it pretty well. As far as a basic Superman figure goes, like I said, I think you could probably, if you're into doing customs, you could probably work this into a pretty good basic Superman figure. And it's probably the easiest way you're going to get a hold of this particular Superman body type. There's been a bunch of Superman body types that Mcfarlane has done, but I think this is easily the best one. And I'm really hoping at some point we'll see this redone as an Alex Ross style Superman, not just the Kingdom Come version, but just a classic Alex Ross Superman. I think would be really cool to see in this style. And of course, the Fleischer Superman figure is going to use this body, and I'm looking forward to that. So I love Fleischer Superman. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this figure. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Superman, both this figure specifically and the character in general, and also, any memories you might have of the old Justice League Task Force video game, what you might think of that one. Make sure you do like, subscribe, hit the little bell, all that kind of stuff, because you don't want to miss the next episode where I talk about Batman. And Batman's my favorite character, not just my favorite DC character, not just my favorite superhero, my favorite character, period. So I'm excited about opening up this guy. But that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.